used to cause joy starts to cause stress, right? And that's when you realize, okay, you're burnt out. At least you're heading that direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a technical issue.
Yeah.
We were not live, and somebody just told me that we were live.
Yeah.
So sorry. I think that's probably one sign that has happened with me as a new mom. I think it not only as a athlete, but as a mom, when somebody is doing something new, we forget many things. I think that's another thing when you're burnt out or you're a little bit over exceeding your ability to.
Your full threshold.
Yeah. So we're so sorry if you're joining us and you were not able to hear our conversation. So we're just going to rewind a little bit, and we'll begin with by defining what burnout means in athletes, so everybody can understand what that means. Again, apologies for the technical issue.
So again, burnout is nothing but just being mentally fatigued, mentally tired, saying that you're done with a certain thing. And it can be anything. It can be runs, it can be work, it can be anything. Okay. So, and burnout in layman terms is just the point where you say, I'm done with this. I just cannot do this anymore. What happens is they're not able to wake up and do certain thing, the same thing that was something that was probably the happiest moment of their life starts to bring in anxiety. So that is when you're beginning to burn out. Yeah.
Yeah. And can you just review the symptoms or the signs that one can start noticing so we don't get to that point of feeling like
Right.
we're burnt out and we're done with it?
Yes. So there are 2, 3 ways you can understand that you're beginning to burn out. The first part is the physical symptoms. So our body is extremely smart and capable of showing us the signs that we are heading that direction, and constantly and perpetually feeling tired and sore. Like I said, it has become a fashion statement that I'm sore. I'm sore is a fashion statement now, but it's actually not. So yes, you can be sore after a run or after a really hard workout, but that cannot be your perpetual state, right? So that is definitely one sign. Of course, going off balance completely. For example, extremities in terms of either not sleeping or sleeping too much, or eating a lot or not eating at all. So that kind of extremity is a sign of burnout. And in terms of mentally, you just can't get up anymore to do a certain activity. You can't get yourself to do that particular activity anymore. That's when you realize, okay, I'm beginning to, whatever, maybe the person was really excited about doing that previously, but right now they're not able to do so. And that is definitely one of the signs of burnout, the motivation level, right? The need or the want to do something. That is definitely one of the key symptoms. And I would say even the stress and the anxiety that this particular activity would cause, that also is certainly a sign of burnout.
And how does one reach that balance between feeling, yes, I want to be competitive, but at the same time, I don't want to get to that point of feeling like, burnt out because I know that I'm not a professional or even professional at that matter. That you're doing it for the love of the sport, but at the same time, yes, for elite athletes, it's their job. But when do they stop loving the sport, and how do they go back to achieving that balance of love and okay, yes, some days are not going to be as good as others?
I think one of the most important factors is the mindset. Accepting that this is reality and it's not going to be a steady graph. If anything, it's going to be a steady graph like this and not like this. So that's it's very important to kind of understand and accept it, because a lot of people understand it but they're constantly in denial. Because when it actually happens, maybe one of the training days they're just doing fabulous, but the next day they're just not able to, and that's fine, because there are hundreds of other factors, like probably the weather, or probably that they haven't eaten right, or anything for that matter that could have gone wrong. And it's extremely important to get into the state of acceptance that the graph is going to be like this, and the only thing you can actually do is that you can minimize the downward point. Instead of actually going that low, maybe you can cut it off over here, and that happens only when you accept it. Because if not, it's just going to go down, because you're going
Yeah.
to keep pushing yourself more and more and more, right? So first part is the acceptance, where this is how it is going to be. The second part, which I think is extremely important, is not focusing on the outcome alone. So have an outcome goal. There's nothing wrong in having an outcome goal. Obviously, that only makes you competitive and makes you focused, definitely. But also, when you're actually in the training, in the process of training, focus on your training as such, not the outcome goal, because the process is more important than the outcome itself. And one thing that people fail to understand is that you train to get there. You don't expect yourself to be there in the first place. That never happens. That's why it's called training for a reason, right? So it's important for us to understand that we're training our body to get there. Like the way, exams. We train, we study to write the exams, and we don't study to get 100 marks. We study whatever we understand is what we put in, and the marks are just indicators, right? Same way, the race day is just an indicator, and people don't realize that, especially in terms of recreational athletes, right? And I think I mean, of course, this causes a lot of stress, focusing on the performance all the time, because there can be a gap between your reality and the performance as such. So you're no longer in tune with your body. You're more in tune with what you want. What is the end result? So there's a huge discrepancy. Eventually, people give up because the perceived effort is a lot more, right?
Yeah.
The most important part will be focusing on the process, staying in that moment, being able to train regularly, consistently, focusing on those, and having that outcome goal is as just a way to schedule and plan things up, plan the training up. So I think that would definitely help to balance both.
And what when when you're talking about being in the moment, are there any, like, if I were to ask you on a day to day, what can I do to be mentally ready for the day or for my workout, and not and help in the matter where it's going to help me maintain that that steady state of mind where I'm not going to feel burnout in the next 2 months or 3 months, especially if I'm going through a training block, which is very intense. So what can I do on a regular basis? Maybe techniques that I can incorporate into my day that can help me stay at a balanced state.
I think what is important is that so I usually have a coach, but if I don't have a coach, then I know that, okay, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday is, these are the days I'm going to run, and these are, probably Wednesday is the interval, Friday is a tempo, and Sunday is probably a long run. So that's something I have in my mind. So I end up, working on that. But if I do have a coach and he gives me very hard workouts when I'm actually training as such, what I do is that I don't look at that and become anxious, but I look at that and get excited about it, because it's allowing me to understand whether I'm able to push there or not. So when I actually read the workout, I'm aware that a lot of people become anxious, because for them it's more in terms of, okay, how is this going to happen, and if this doesn't happen, then what happens to me, right? I would say that particular anxiety happens because they evaluate the run or the training plan based on it's more it's a question of their identity there. Am I capable or not? So I think it's important that we shift that into, it's just a day and it's just that particular skill, and that doesn't mean anything about them. A lot of times we relate ourselves or our identity or our mental strength to the actual skill that's going on there. So maybe it's just the technique that didn't go well during the training, right? And it's important to do so, because if that is not right, you don't get the training right. And once the training is not right, you set very unrealistic expectations. And then what happens is that it just goes haywire, right? So the most important part is for you to just go there, be, just be consistent at it. Saying, okay, if Wednesday, Friday, Sunday is what I'm going to run, and this is the week, this week I know I'm traveling. So if I'm traveling, I'm not going to be running then, I'm going to be running here. I mean, at this point, then how can I tweak it? Because the process is more important than the actual outcome. And it's also, if you're so focused on the outcome, you're training so hard but you actually don't enjoy it, then it's just a waste of time, isn't it? So this shift in mindset is very important. Then you get excited about the workout, and because you're excited, even physically you're very supported. It supports the workout as well, and you end up doing really well. And the body also gets very very much ready for the actual race.
Yeah. Are there any special tips, or some people say meditating, or I, something that, okay, one is the mindset. So how does one, start to recognize or accept things, or is there any special techniques where that can help us get to acceptance level?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I believe that routines create mindsets. It just doesn't happen that way. It's the routines that create mindsets. And one of the things that's very important is the discipline to kind of be very consistent in terms of what you tell yourself. It cannot be two extremes, because what people, the self talk part of it, we usually call it the self talk. And when what you talk to yourself is just extremely important, whether it's before the training, whether it's during the training, or whether it's after the training, because what you have in mind may be different, and what you want to tell yourself may be different, but what you actually tell yourself will be very very different. So that the first routine that a person would want to change is the self talk. So being critical in terms of self talk, like for example, um, I've seen a lot of runners say this, right? Let's assume they have to do an interval, one of the 30-second interval, just giving an example, at say a 4:30 pace, and they haven't really done that. They've messed up probably one round or one interval, right? And probably they've done it at a 5 pace, right? What happens is that they immediately beat themselves up, saying, no, you're not good, you should have done it better, you should have done it better. And that's what they're telling themselves while running, right? Instead of saying, okay, you know what, gone is gone, let me just do the next one a little better. So the actual self talk could be, okay, keep at it, let's do the second one better, right? So self talk is the consistency as at which you talk to yourself. What you tell yourself is very very important. um, because if not, then obviously you're just getting an enemy out of yourself right there. So that definitely is one of the important routines to get the mindset right, because we read up so much, but the actual thing is, all of us know, yeah, we need the balance, we need to accept and all, but the actual thing happens when you talk to yourself, when you actually talk to yourself there. That's number one. Number two is body awareness. I think most people who are working out, one of the skills which are very important is this body awareness, grounding yourself and centering yourself. So before a run, it's very important to know, or kind of notice how your body is feeling, how each part of your body is feeling, and it just involves a very simple technique called the body scan, wherein you just close your eyes and scan yourself from the top of your head till your toes, and just kind of relieve yourself of all the tension that you are holding. It's extremely simple, but it's extremely effective because it grounds yourself, and you will know in case you're feeling very, in case you're genuinely having an issue, let's say a pain or something like that, then you know that you don't have to push too much. So that awareness is extremely important. I would say these two are the key routines that a person would want to develop.
I think one is awareness of the mind, and the other one is awareness of the physical aspect. So I think
Exactly.
they go hand in hand. I
Absolutely.
think I would be guilty for the negative pep talk.
Most of
uh,
us.
yeah, and I think it's like you said. I think we read a lot of books, or we follow a lot of people, and they talk about being positive and how important it is to be positive. But it's a lot easier to hear it than to actually practice it.
Exactly.
So, do you have any? How do you go with your clients who are, maybe are facing this issue where they're constantly negative, thinking negative, and their pep talk is always negative? Do
Mm-hmm.
you make them do any special technique during your sessions with them, or that you
Oh,
could
so
share with us?
yeah, definitely. I just give them a few rules that they have to follow, and anytime they come and talk otherwise, I catch them right there. So, and I kind of monitor them. So I'm just going to share a few of the rules here. So one of the thing is, people have this constant noise in their head, this voice in their head saying, I should have done this. I should have done it this way. I should have done it that way. Or I shouldn't have done it. Right? This should, what happens is it becomes a condition. And the other part is it makes us question our reality of ourselves, which means our identity is questioned here, and that gives us a lot of guilt and anger. So I would always ask them to change it as a desire, because wanting to run at a 4:30 is a desire. It's not a condition that evaluates, makes you evaluate into whether you're a better person or not, right? So the first thing which is very important is, are you constantly telling yourself that I should be doing it a certain way, I shouldn't be doing it a certain way, or is it just a desire that you want to do better, right? So this is the first most important questioning that a person needs to do. And once that happens, you would always change the I want to or I must to I want to. And that's very important. Um, and the second part is, once you decide, how people say fake it till you make it. But I really, I wouldn't believe in the fake it till you make it part. But drawing parallels here, when you set an intention to do something, you behave like that's already happening, because the work to doing it, like for example, I want to, let's assume an athlete wants to, I mean, a recreational athlete wants to run like a 48-minute 10K in the TCS 10K that just went by. He wanted to, and the goal was set in probably Jan. So instead of saying I will run a 10K in 48 minutes, I would recommend them telling that I am running it in 48 minutes, which is a present continuous tense. More so because the intention is already set, which means the work starts right there, right? So even when you run the training runs, it's more in terms of, okay, I am enjoying the run. I am running at a good speed. And that encouragement is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I think we
hi.
have a special appearance again.
So happy.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. Hi, Myra.
Hello.
Great. And there's a lot of talk about, especially with elite runners or elite
Yeah.
athletes, that as an elite, you should already have a strong mind. And I think it's one of those things that maybe last summer when Simone Biles
Mm-hmm.
said, "I'm not going to participate because I'm not in the
Yeah.
correct mindset." And what do you say to individuals who say, as an athlete, you should already have a strong mind? And, you know, as a psychologist, what would you say to that?
I think the word mental strength has been wrongly perceived by people. They feel that mental strength is not crying, not feeling emotions, and that's just absolutely the wrong way to look at mental strength. Mental strength is being able to be vulnerable. Mental strength is being able to decide clearly, to function a lot better. And mental strength does not mean just being strong all the time, like not crying, being hard. That is not mental strength. So the way people look at mental strength is very different. So I think that's the first thing we need to talk about is mental strength is not what they think. But it is being resilient. It is about when you step down, how do you step back up? It is about accepting that you're stepping down. And it is also about knowing when to quit.
And
So,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, go on, sorry.
do you correlate that also with maybe the, how do I say this? The chances of somebody burning out to somebody who is not, who doesn't get to that point because they're more aware of where they're at.
Absolutely. And I honestly think the social circle here, the societal pressure is a lot more over here. I think that plays a bigger role than anything else. So, a person who probably is influenced a lot by what other people say and what the media says, especially in India, right? What people say is very different. When you quit, they think you're a loser instead of actually celebrating it. So, that those kind of things definitely impact a person, and that results to burnout. That you because the person keeps pushing all the time, and obviously that results in burnout, right? So there's no acknowledgement for the actual real person, which is yes, of course you're going to fall, you're going to get back up, and I think that acknowledgement is not there. And I think it's more of a cultural and a societal kind of a thing, which puts a lot of pressure on the person.
And would you say that elite athletes are more susceptible to burnout than a recreational athlete?
I'm not going to say either one is, because again stressors are different. The way people look at things are different, and I would say even the mindsets, right? Recreational athlete may not really perform to that level that we're talking about, but then they still want to perform. They're still training like elite athletes. They still train two times a day and things like that, and also do a full time job. So I don't know whether I can actually say that they're two different things, but definitely they everyone is susceptible to burnout if they're not aware of themselves, if they don't acknowledge that they have the vulnerable side.
Great. Sorry, if you could give us in a summary, what can I look for? What signs can I be aware of when
Mm-hmm.
I'm reaching a burnout stage? And what can I do to either to address them or, not fall into that trap of feeling burnt out?
So the first part of the question was, what do you do when you're burnt out, right? So I think important thing is to not be too critical about oneself and to just relax, because that's very important, because the criticality is what led you to a burnout in the first place. So you need to first start accepting, yes, I'm actually stressed, I'm actually mentally tired, and maybe focus on something else rather than this. Be a little soft on yourself, right? And say, be a little nice to yourself and say, okay, if running is not what I want to do right now, let me just do something else which is helpful for fitness. So, and that can be dancing, that can be yoga, that can be anything, probably even just the opposite, which is fine, right? Because you can always get back to running. So, a change of direction, that will be really helpful. The second part could actually, for some people, company helps. A lot of people being with them help. So maybe that, or maybe sometimes it's the environment that's making them burn out. Maybe a particular running club or maybe a particular place. So maybe if they change that, then it will help them. So it depends on what is the cause of burnout and what is making them feel stressed. So one of the most important things they should be doing to kind of take care of their mental health is also introspecting and analyzing where what's going on. Is it really my thoughts or is it someone else's thoughts? That definitely, it really helps a person get out of a burnout. Yeah, so that's the first part of the question. I think the second part is the prevention, right? Prevention, again, I believe that everyone's goals are different. You're not here to compete with another person. right? Just so let's assume last week on the same day I had an interval run and I probably ran really fast. Today I had an easy run and I had to maintain my heart rate probably a little lower than what I usually do, right? And that doesn't mean just because another person is running, I don't have to be running super fast just to catch up with them, which means I'm messing up my training, right? So to remember that everyone's goals are different, um, is very important, and what they get out of every run is also going to be different because people are different. The pushing capacities are different, knowledge is different, awareness is different. So it's very important to know and to be very aware that you're not competing with another person ever. Your run is your run because your goals are your goal. It's not going to be the same as another person's goal. I think that's the first step. The second thing is also to understand that it's not about, it's about getting every day right. It's more about getting every day done rather than getting every day right. It's important to show up, and even if you're doing a little, it's still good. To acknowledge and appreciate is extremely important, because if you're going to set your benchmarks this high, and you're not, it's just an all or nothing kind of a thing. It's just never going to work. You're never going to reach there. So somewhere you start here and maybe here, and then slowly you might go there. So that's, I think that would definitely prevent burnout.
And my last question for you is, when should someone seek professional help if they're going through a burnout phase in their life?
So we as psychologists, what we always say is that when you're not functional, when it's affecting your everyday functioning, is at least when you're starting to be aware that it's affecting your everyday functioning, is when you need to start seeking help. Because anytime it starts troubling you, you can seek help, obviously, but then definitely when it starts affecting your everyday functioning, it is bad. You've got to seek help, and that's very important. And I'm not saying feeling anxious is wrong, feeling stressed is wrong. It's fine because it's part of you. People are human beings because we have emotions, right? And without emotions, we're nothing. But
Yeah.
if you're not able to be functional, and I'm not talking about suppressing emotions and dealing with life, I'm talking about it disturbing you. You're not being happy. You're not being peaceful. Then you definitely need to seek help. When it starts affecting your everyday function, you need to seek help.
And I'll pass the platform off to you. Your last message to our viewers, to anybody who is watching us or who's going to watch this later. What would you tell them about burnout, or just in general about mental health?
I think you are your own priority, and that's important for you to acknowledge it. And if you're not going to be nice to yourself, I know a lot of people out there are extremely self-critical. There's a difference between wanting to perform, being ambitious, and being self-critical. So, you tend to perform a lot better when you start caring for yourself, when you start nurturing self love. And that's a lot more important than anything else. This hustle culture, and then, getting it right every single day may not be, the right way to go about things. It's about being consistent, it's about showing up, and that's more than enough. So, just it's important to have that self care routine. It's important, not just physically, but even mentally. And I think that's what I would always say.
Yeah. So you heard it. Take care of yourself, be your own priority. I think many times we get caught up in trying to take care of others and we forget about ourselves, or we just in terms of an athlete, we become so competitive that we're always comparing ourselves to others and putting
Yeah.
ourselves down if we're not performing at where we think we should. But yeah, step back, analyze your situation. And if you are feeling low, or if you're going through a phase where you're feeling burnt out, don't shy away from seeking professional help or talking to somebody about it. I think talking to others, it helps a lot. And especially nowadays, especially with the lockdown and COVID, I think a lot of us, either our anxiety levels went a little high, or so we're trying to get back to into the normality of things. And hopefully we can take care of our mental and physical health going forward even better. Great. Thank you so much, Keerthana. I think there's a vast amount of topics and knowledge to share around mental health, performance, and athletes. So we'll definitely look forward to possibly having another session with you.
Absolutely.
Another topic. And if you have any questions for Keerthana, she does have a website. You can also find her on Instagram. So please, there's on the description of the live session, you'll find her website as well as her Instagram handle. So don't be afraid to get in touch with her. And if you have any questions about anything regarding Unived, you can send us an email or again, send us a DM on Instagram. Thank you so much, everyone, and take care of yourself. Put yourself first.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.